Hi everyone, it's Andy from Tales from the Hart. I hope you're all doing well. I'm outside under a lovely tree in the sunshine, so pretty good myself. I've been doing a lot of reading, as I imagine a lot of you have since lockdown began, and trying to expand my knowledge on all sorts of things, as well as new stories. And it got me to thinking about the best ways to do that. And there's a story, one of my favourites, about someone expanding their knowledge. And I thought I'd share it with you. And this is a story of a man named Finn MacCool, who I've told a story on here about before. This story is early on in what we call the Fianna cycle, the stories of Finn MacCool. It happens when Finn was a boy. Now, Finn did not have the easiest childhood. Well, as most heroes in these stories, he had a very rough childhood. His father, a man named Cool, was the leader of the Fianna tribe. Now, the Fianna tribe were actually a tribe made up of different warriors from lots of different clans. And their job was to protect Ireland from any threats. He also led a clan, Clan Baskna. Now, Clan Baskna were a powerful tribe, but they had been defeated in battle by Clan Morna. Now, the leader of Clan Morna, Gol, wanted the leadership of the Fianna for himself, as well as the lands of Clan Baskna. And so in this battle, which was hard fought, Gol slew Cool. Now, Cool had a wife back at his home who was in labour with a child, Myrna. Now, Myrna knew that if this child was a boy, it would represent a threat to Gol for as long as he lived. And so she made some preparations. She contacted Cool's sister, a Druidess that lived in the forest, who was at her bedside when she gave birth. And it was a boy. Dermna was the boy's name that she gave him. This boy would have to be taken away, would have to be hidden, until he was old enough to avenge his father and hopefully reclaim his title, his lands. And so away he went. And he grew up in the forest, nurtured by his foster mother. And he started making a name for himself when he was a young boy. He would walk into a village and beat all of the boys at games of shinty and wrestling. He would go hunting and bring back the fiercest, most handsome animals. He grew a very fair head of hair, and he was named Finn after that, which means fair. This Druidess, his foster mother, his aunt, knew that he would have to go away because people would start paying attention and people might put two and two together and realise this was the son of Cool. And so he was sent off to make his own way in the world. Now, Finn had a thirst for knowledge. And so he decided before he could do anything else, he needed to continue his studies. And he had heard a legend of a druid by the name of Finnegas. Now, Finnegas was on a quest to gather as much knowledge as he could on the width and the breadth of Ireland. And rumour had it he had settled in a small cabin nearby. He found that cabin in a clearing. It was beside a sacred well over which 9 trees, hazel trees, hung. There was a story to this well as well. This story was that each of those hazel trees would grow in their lifetime one hazelnut bigger and stranger than the rest, for this hazelnut was made up of knowledge. And if someone would eat that hazelnut, they would gain a vast amount of knowledge and power. Now, Finnegas had come here to obtain some of these hazelnuts. But when Finn found him, he was sitting by the well, deep in thought. Well, he must have eaten them. He could not see any of these amazing hazelnuts upon the tree. He must have eaten them already. He was probably sagely gazing in to the well, contemplating the life and universe. And fishing, it seemed. He had nets dotted about the entire well, several fishing rods set up, and he frowned, staring at the water. Finn cleared his throat and announced himself, only to be shushed by the Druid. There was an awkward silence that seemed to last for a long time. Finn decided the best thing to do was busy himself by making himself useful. He chopped firewood, he tidied the cabin, he brought water from the far edge of the well. He began washing clothes that were set out to wash, hanging them to dry. And eventually Finnegas came and introduced himself to Finn and explained his story. For you see, each of those nuts had formed on that tree and dropped, but from where they were, they dropped one after the other into the well. Wise one, why couldn't you take that coracle, that small boat over there, and go and fish them out? The Druid then explained that the moment these hazelnuts had dropped into the well, a salmon, a magnificent creature the colour of a shimmering rainbow, had popped its head up and gobbled the hazelnut up. All 9 had been eaten. And so here Finnegas was, as he had been for months and months, not waiting for hazelnuts, but trying to fish this salmon, which was probably far too wise to be caught now, from the well. He agreed to take Finn on as an apprentice. Not only would it be nice to have some company and someone to share his knowledge with, but someone who could do the work around the house as well while he fished. It would give him more time to try and catch this salmon. And so that is what happened for a month and a day. Finn was there, washing clothes, chopping firewood, hunting, gathering, foraging. All the while, Finnegas was fishing. Wise one, he eventually said, I appreciate the lessons that you were giving me. I appreciate that I can help you. But you should rest. Wouldn't it not be better if I spent some time fishing? You could sleep. You could go and wander the woods as you once did. Now, Finnegas had agreed that he would, in the evenings before bed, share some of his knowledge with Finn. And he also promised Finn that once he'd eaten the salmon, he would share much more of the knowledge that he'd gathered. But this did sound tempting. The chance to stretch his legs beneath the trees, the chance to sleep properly, not just for a few hours each night. And so he agreed. And no sooner had Finn cast his first rod, his first line into that water, the salmon bit, as if it was waiting for him. Finnegas was excited. Now you must cook, get a fire going, lad, get a fire going. And so Finn took his flint and steel and struck tinder and got a fire going. Then he sat up a spit to cook the fish on. Now you must turn it evenly, boy, while I go and get herbs and prepare for this meal, prepare for the knowledge that I will gain. You must cook it thoroughly, cook it well, do not burn it, and do not taste of it. That is very important. You must not have the first bite. Finn agreed. And so off Finnegas went, off into the woods to gather sacred herbs to enhance this meal. And Finn sat there, staring into the flames, turning the spit. And as he turned that spit, he thought to himself of the strange paths that his life had taken. He thought about where it might lead next, of his father, whether he would be avenged, whether he would regain his title, whether he would ever see his mother again. And as he was deep in thought, he had stopped turning the spit. He was only snatched from that thought when the scent of burning fish flesh assaulted his nostrils. With a gasp, he snatched the fish from the spit. To spy, to his horror, the belly was beginning to blacken and burn, and a blister had formed on the skin of the fish. Quick as anything, not wanting Finnegas to be upset with him, not wanting to get caught, he popped the blister with his thumb, which burnt his thumb, which he immediately sucked. And everything changed for Finn MacCool then. Finnegas was soon back with his herbs, but as soon as he approached the fire, the fish now was laying on a platter beside it, well cooked. He knew something was different. Finn? He asked cautiously. Has something happened? Finn did not reply, but stared into the fire. Did you taste the fish, Finn? Finn looked up. Did you eat any of it? Finn shook his head, but there was a fey light in his eyes. Something had changed. Tell me what happened, boy. And so Finn had explained about his thoughts getting away with him. He'd explained about the blister forming, popping it, sucking his thumb, and then feeling different. Finnegas sighed, and it was then knowledge came to him. Knowledge that he had a part to play, but the salmon was never meant to be his. From Finn finding him in the woods, to catching the fish as soon as he cast his first rod out, to burning the skin while Finnegas was away. This was all meant to be. Finn was meant to eat this fish. And so, he prepared the fish, but insisted that Finn ate the whole thing, and asked in return they would swap roles, and Finn would share some of his knowledge with him. And so, the fish was eaten. And after that, Finn was much changed. He seemed older, wiser, bigger, but warier as well, as if the weight of that knowledge and the world was upon his shoulders. But he honoured the request, and he remained for another month and a day in the woods with Finnegas, sharing his knowledge. And from that day, Finn could think his way out of a lot of problems. And if he couldn't think his way out of a problem, all he had to do was suck that thumb that he had burnt, and the answer would usually come to him. And after spending that time in the woods with Finnegas, he sucked his thumb and knew that he had to go north. He had to go towards the capital of our island, Tara, and he knew there his destiny would await him. But that, my friends, is a story for another day. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed telling it to you. Hopefully we can tell the next part of that story at some point, maybe with Amy. Stay safe, everyone, and stay tuned, and see you next week.